Hey, everyone. It's Mel Preston, your neighborhood therapist and relationship architect. And daily, what I help people do is to redesign their relationships. So, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Mondays with Mel. And tonight, I really want to get right into the topic because we often ask the question of how do I know if he or she is the one, right? And so that is what we are talking about tonight. So if you know someone that should hear this information, make sure you go ahead and share this out with him. Go ahead and share this out with them, whether it's a female or a male. If they're on Facebook, Instagram, if you want to share the YouTube link, make sure that you do all of those things because we are going to get into that tonight. So I'll give you a minute to go ahead and share this out. Share it out to all your people. Don't be stingy. I'm going to say that every single week. Don't be stingy. Go ahead and share. How do we know if he or she is the one? All right. So I want to start by going over some statistics with you guys because I thought this was really interesting when I was reading it. Also, if you have questions, make sure to put them in the comments. If I don't see them, I will come back and do an additional video to address those things. But make sure that you are leaving your comments and your questions in the chat feature. Okay. Now, according to the New York Times, there will be. Can anybody guess how many weddings there are projected to be in the year 2022? Let's start there. How many weddings do you think are happening within, or statistics show are going to happen within the year of 2022? I'll give you a minute to just guess. Just take a wild guess. Here's the answer. 2.5 million weddings are projected to happen within the year of 2022. Now, there are various reasons that this is happening. Before the pandemic, we were at about 2.2 million weddings, and that was back in 2019. And then, of course, we had the pandemic. Now, some speculate that there is this huge increase in weddings this year due to many people having to postpone their weddings during the pandemic, right? There's also inflation that's happening. So there are several different reasons, but it is reported by the New York Times that over 2.9 million weddings will happen within the year of 2022. Now, there haven't been that many weddings since 1984, which is crazy. There haven't been that many weddings since 1984. But get this, the fact still remains the same that most couples wait 6 years or so into the relationship, whether it's a long-term relationship or whether it's a marriage before they decide to engage in therapy, right? So if we're going to have this many weddings, oh, and here's another thing: the average price, the average cost of a wedding. Can you guess? Can you guess the average cost of a wedding these days? And this isn't even your extravagant weddings. This is on average wedding cost in 2022. Here it is. Here it is. Between 28 and around $35,000. 28 stacks. 28 stacks. Minimum is the average cost of weddings these days. So if we're going to spend 20, 30 plus on these weddings, then let's look at some of the things to really determine beforehand, how do we know that he or she is the one. Now, this is not an exhaustive list. However, um, I will post I will post a link to the actual quiz that you guys will be able to take if you're interested in the full quiz on learning if someone, you really share that type compatibility with someone. All right. So, for the sake of time, though, we are going to look at a few of those things. So, number one, how do you know if a person is the one for you? Do you enjoy the same things? Do you enjoy many of the same things? Right? That is a good indication that someone may or may not be for you. Now, I'm not going to say that you have to enjoy everything. No one, you shouldn't even want someone that enjoys everything you enjoy. That's kind of weird. If the person enjoys every single thing that you enjoy, you might want to question that. However, you should be able to share some things in common. Otherwise, how will you date? How will you have fun? How will you grow in intimacy? So, do you at least enjoy some things? And it would be better if you enjoyed more things together than not. Because just know, whatever you don't enjoy with the person, there's probably someone else that does. So make sure that there's a healthy balance on what you guys both enjoy together. Number two, do you like most of each other's friends? Do you like most of each other's friends? This is a huge one. Sometimes when we are entering into relationships and we're moving from casually dating and having a ton of platonic friends to going more into a monogamous relationship, and we're looking at long term sustainability, there are times when, unfortunately, there may be casualties of war. In other words, it may not be feasible if you are a guy, or even if you are a female and you have a ton of friends of the opposite sex that you spend a lot of time with, um, and you're trying to maintain this committed relationship. Usually, somewhere in there, it's going to get sticky. So make sure that if you have a ton of friends who are of the opposite sex, that there are boundaries in place and that you are having real conversations about your feelings, your needs in regard to these relationships, right? Now, if none of his friends like you, mm, that could be problematic. And if none of her friends like you, sir, just know that will cause conflict in the relationship. Why will that cause conflict? Because that means whenever you get into it, whenever there's something negative, um, they will probably have something negative to say if they don't know you, if they don't trust you. So it's very important to start establishing those relationships with your future partner's friends along the way. Now, we're not going to get into friendships with individuals that you have had previous or past sexual relationships with tonight. But just know, let's just say this. It's not a great rule of thumb to continue relationships with individuals that you have previous sexual history with. If you're trying to cultivate a long term committed relationship with someone else, let's repeat that. It is not good practice to maintain relationships, platonic relationships with individuals you have a past sexual history with. I'm not saying it can't work. I'm not even saying that there are people that haven't made it work. What I am saying is it makes things difficult. All right. So it it makes things difficult. So pay attention to those relationships. Also pay attention to the pay attention to how that person that you used to have the sexual relationship with, pay attention to their motives. Are they genuinely happy for you in your new relationship? Do they genuinely want to have a relationship with your future spouse or your partner? Or do they make side digs? Are they disrespectful? Do they go out of their way to make your significant other jealous? If that's the case, those are individuals you should watch. And those are individuals you should be very careful about continuing a relationship with. Um, if you are attempting to have a committed relationship with someone else. Now, here's another one. You agree on your roles within the relationship. The absolute worst thing you can do is get into a relationship with someone where you have not established the expectations of what it means to be my partner. From everything uh even if we're talking about dating and just the term dating, what does dating even mean to you? Does this mean we start out and we're monogamous immediately? Does this mean we're dating but we are seeing other individuals? What does this mean? Get on the same page. If you can't get on the same page, if there are gaps in communication, this may or may not be the person for you. Okay. Um, how does the person feel about their parents? What's the relationship with their mom? What's the relationship with their dad? What is the relationship with their siblings if they have any? A great indication of how someone views family values, a great indication of how someone loves their belief system, their core is tied into how they were raised. And you can find out a lot about a person by checking with them on their family history. Do you guys come from similar backgrounds? Do you come from um, opposite backgrounds? Sometimes, even if you come from opposite backgrounds, it's not a bad thing, but it is definitely something to be aware of. But make sure you know how the person views family. So, for instance, if you are a person who is very family oriented, you believe in all of the big family gatherings, we're going into the holiday season, and you're someone who you like to be around a lot of family, you like to do the gatherings, then you want to know that the person you intend to spend the rest of your life with values the same things that you value. Or or are they someone who they have social anxiety, or maybe they grew up like me and they were an only child, or maybe they grew up with foster families, or maybe they grew up and they didn't have their parents, so they don't have a real love or a real affinity for family. These are things that are important. Again, it doesn't mean that it can't work, but these are absolutely things to be aware of as you're moving forward. Because if there are huge gaps, especially when it comes to family values, that is something that could really impede the relationship in a negative way. All right. Any questions so far? Any questions from you guys? All right. So, like I said, make sure that you are sharing this out. Put a one in the chat if this is helping you. That is the absolute point of Mondays with Mel, is to make sure that I'm giving you guys information that you can use as tools in your relationships, as we're going through life. Because listen, life is lifing at full speed, and I know everyone's not ready for therapy. Therefore, the platform of Mondays with Mel is just to give you guys information so that you can take it, you can be equipped, you can be empowered, and you can evolve in your relationships. All right. So make sure you're sharing this out. All right. Let's keep going. What are your values? Do you guys value the same things? Do you value a majority of the same things? That is important when you are looking for someone you are considering spending the rest of your life with. Do you value the same things? Do you know how to fight fair? Ooh, that's a big one. Do you know how to fight fair? Do you know how to not hit below the belt? Do you know how to care for each other in a way that even when you are having a disagreement, you're not going to take something vulnerable. You're not going to take something that your significant other shared with you in a vulnerable space and turn it against the person and use it to your advantage. Now, I know many of us are wordsmiths and our words can cut like a knife, but are you using your words to cut your partner? Are you doing that? Or do you know how to fight fair with each other? Okay. These are all things to think about. Are you willing to talk about your credit and your financial histories? I think that's a really good one. One of the things, I'll share this. One of the things, and my husband always says this is how he knew I was the one, was one of the things we did when we first started dating was, y'all, I took him to the bank to look at our credit scores and to talk about financial things. Now, this was something I had never done with anyone else, and I don't even remember why we did it, but we did. And it's always good because there are several things, money being one of the top ones, that will break a relationship if you're not honest and if you are not transparent in that space. So, being willing to share whatever your financial stressors are, whatever you're bringing into the relationship. Sometimes people don't want to share about their financial or credit history because they're ashamed. They are embarrassed. They feel guilty for things that maybe they didn't do right in the past. Because you and I both know that when we make mistakes financially, when we make mistakes with our credit, it takes time to repair, right? And so having those conversations can be difficult. It can be extremely, extremely, extremely difficult. But being able to have those conversations, um, and learning that whatever your financial history is, whatever your credit history is, that those are things you can agree to work on as partners. You can agree to work on those things together. Okay. Now, is this helping you? I hope it is. I hope this is helping you. So let's see. I have one more, um, and that will be it for tonight. Are you willing? And this is for those who are looking at, hey, is this someone I can build a future with? Can you live with their shortcomings? Can you live with their past mistakes? Can you live with their history, with their background? Or is it something that will always bother you? Are there things in your partner's history that continue to come up? Even when you think you've moved on, these are things that continue to come up and you can't seem to let them go. Well, if that's the case, then that's something you may want to work on, especially if this is someone you want to have a life with. Okay. So, this is it for tonight. If you want to take the actual quiz on knowing if a person is the one for you, then make sure you go to my website at www.matteroffocuscounseling.com. I'll also probably post it on the Matter of Focus social media channels as well as on the YouTube page. So make sure you do check out the quiz there. And I and also, if you have questions, either leave them in the comments or send me a DM. Slide into my DMs, ask your questions. I'll be happy to answer them. If you are in a relationship and you find that you're in a place that you know that you need some professional help, reach out www.matteroffocuscounseling.com or send me a message through the Matter of Focus social media pages. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.